The shaky voice of a father in prison opens the video instead of music or cheers. "Daddy will be home shortly." Even though his comments are raw and brittle, they have the weight of a lifetime even when they are heard over a cheap prison phone. His kids, who are too little to comprehend the world but old enough to sense its harshness, listen in silence from the other end. The youngster responds quietly, his voice cracking. "But Dad, you say that all the time." The internet froze in that instant. A youngster put the phone firmly against his ear. As millions watched from blazing screens worldwide, a single tear trickled down his cheek. A heartwarming father-child call turned into a somber depiction of unfulfilled promises. Once a boisterous, erratic viral celebrity, Blueface is now a shaky parent, pleading for one final chance. And millions of people watched with teary eyes as the video went viral. There are whispers that no child deserves this pain. A colder person said, "Too little, too late." Then came the unexpected turn. Leaks started to appear. Whispered phone conversations, purported text messages, and unedited recordings all allude to something sinister. Was this heartfelt appeal a genuine attempt by a father to reach out to his kids? Or was it a well-staged act to elicit sympathy? Chrisean came out holding receipts and accused Blueface of exploiting not only her but even his children as props in a desperate game of survival. Just as the world was still reeling from his children's tears, it's not merely a jail call. This is a real-time tragedy. The brutal collision of love, power, and treachery tore apart a father, a family, and a fandom. Additionally, when you view this, consider whether would you forgive him if this had been your child. Because this is no longer music. Survival. It flickers on the screen. A shaky video from a prison phone. Pure, unadulterated reality without any filters or extra enhancements. The Blueface leans forward, his voice faltering, his eyes sad. "Daddy will be home shortly." Like a tidal wave, the words crash into the internet. "You constantly say that, Dad," but his small kid whispers back. And the world stops breathing in that one heartbreaking response. The soul is crushed, not by the chilly cement walls or the bars on the window. A child who has already realized that promises don't necessarily mean forever is making that sound. Millions of people watch as his daughter silently clutches to the phone and his kid drops his head, his small voice breaking. Childhood innocence clashes with disappointment's weight. And the internet-hardened stares suddenly drown out years of scandals and rumors. Blueface isn't a rapper for a second. He is not the headline machine, the pandemonium, or the memes. Is merely a broken, imperfect, and desperate parent who is battling to keep the few individuals who still refer to him as daddy. Timelines are overflowing with messages from fans. That kind of suffering should never be heard by a child. You can hear the love in his voice, but you can say whatever you want about him, comments another. But mistrust grows like a shadow slipping into the picture. Was this a performance, or was this actual heartbreak? Another pivotal moment in a controversial career. Whispers start minutes after the video is posted online. Alleged text conversations, leaked audios, and covert calls all raise the possibility that the widely shared video is not what it seems. The story abruptly breaks. Some people hold on to their tears, stating that this was Blueface, a father on the verge of disintegration, shorn of his ego. Others perceive just deception. A man who is prepared to use his kid's innocence as a weapon in order to gain sympathy, influence, and survival. Chrisean then enters the fray like gasoline on an open flame. As she performs live for hundreds of thousands of people, her eyes are watery and her voice trembles with anger. Do you guys think he's interested in the kids? No, I was carrying his child. He showed no concern for me. It's the same way he exploited me. He's using others. She displays purported receipts, screenshots of texts, and evidence that is either authentic or fake. The damage was already done. The already shattered internet shatters much further. Hashtag broken father versus hashtag surge. Hashtag children aren't prop stop. Supporters debate not only about a guy, but also about family, love, and the fine line separating performance from truth. Additionally, throughout it all, the image persists. You always say that, Dad, because this isn't just a prison call. A boy's weary voice said, a catastrophe is playing out in real time. Clout, treachery, and unfulfilled promises have ensnared a man, a family, and a whole generation. And one terrifying fact lingers as the narrative progresses. Is a father seeking atonement or just making headlines as he sobs on camera? The internet believed it had witnessed enough tragedy. However, the story took a darker turn just as people started to wipe away their tears. Another video emerged hours after Blueface's heartfelt phone call went viral. This time, it has the purportedly unedited version. In a whisper, his son's frail voice said, "But you always say that, Dad." However, what came next rocked supporters to their core. Blueface's tone changed abruptly from one of desperation to defensive. Don't pay attention to what they have to say. This will be handled by Daddy. Daddy will ensure that we are straight. It wasn't the consoling voice. The voice belonged to a man who was attempting to persuade the world, or perhaps himself, that promises meant more than just the walls closing in on him. More profound than any poetry he had ever woven was his son's quiet, weary, and resigned response. "Dad, you say?" That all the time. The internet went crazy. Outrage replaced the tears. Was this a man recycling failed promises for sympathy points? Or was this a father spilling his heart out? Everyone was unprepared for the explosion that followed, which included leaked text messages purportedly from Blueface himself, acknowledging that the call wasn't spontaneous at all. "Gotta make sure they feel sorry for me, bro," one said. "Tonight, drop that video. Kids sell the story," says Anna Thor, superior to me. "Watch as this is devoured by the bloggers." Fans were stung hard by the betrayal. Allegedly, the same kids whose purity had moved everyone to tears were now being used as props in a desperate attempt to gain attention. In a matter of hours, the hashtag kids are in single quotes TP ROPS went viral. Not even famous people could remain silent. "You can't scam sympathy," 50 Cent said as the caption for a laughing emoji. "Children are not public relations. I don't understand the pain of being locked away from your kids," wrote rapper The Game in support of him. "That man is merely doing his best." As the gap widened and the argument became more heated, Rock and Cry entered the fray, her voice breaking with sadness and anger, tears streaming live on Instagram. "He didn't even give a damn about me when I was pregnant," she yelled. "Teases, sing them like he did me." She produced screenshots of purported communications. "These children are important. It has to do with the bag, you know?" It made no difference if the texts were fake or authentic. The decision had already been made by the internet. Blueface was no longer seen by many as the broken father seeking atonement. He was the one who manipulated and planned the suffering of his own children. However, there was a believer for every hater. The leaks, according to some fans, were lies intended to kill him. Others contended that manipulators are not inherently incapable of loving their children. However, there was one indisputable fact. No scandal could ever carry the weight of the children's voices, little and weary. One terrifying question remained for the world to consider as part 2 of this developing nightmare came to a close. If his tears, since kids can be used as weapons, what else won't he give up? Fans believed they had witnessed every aspect of Blueface's demise by the time the dust settled. But when you think the wound can no longer flow, tragedy has a way of getting deeper. A taco. A blurry video clip was dumped from what appeared to be a prison corridor window by a burner account that goes by the name Incident. The audio was absolutely clear, but the video was jerky and blurry. Angry and insane, Blueface's voice burst through the static. They believe me to be foolish. Who is disclosing this? I know. Who is putting me up? I know. They're all going to pay when I leave. The internet went down. Everyone's thoughts were still filled with the sweet tears of his children. The voice of their father now roared with wrath. Was the manipulator planning retaliation, or the devastated father pleading for forgiveness? Hours later, yet another realization struck with even greater force. Blueface's punishment may not be brief at all, according to alleged court documents that started making the rounds online. Fans were informed that their father might be imprisoned for years, rather than returning home anytime soon. That one promise, which he murmured to his daughter and son, broke like glass. Memes began to express grief. Heartbreaking edits of his son's worn-out voice with text overlays were shared by fans. "Dad, you say that all the time." With melancholy music playing in the background, TikToks repeated his daughter's quiet. Clout's remarks from childhood flashed on the screen. Strangers turned comment sections into prayer walls, pleading for pity on children who had never requested to be in the circus. Once again, celebrities had their say. "Stop putting kids in the middle of grown folks' mess," Cardi B tweeted, for a period. "I know what it's like to be away from your kids, but this ain't the way." Offset continued on Instagram Live. "Children are not props." However, the most devastating blow came from within his own family, not from outsiders. According to a relative who spoke to a small gossip blog, the kids were bewildered, crying at night and wondering when their father would stop lying. Whether accurate or overblown, the result was disastrous. The internet became barbaric. He was suddenly being portrayed as the bad guy in his own children's tragedy. The same man who had once made every scandal into a meme. Nevertheless, a final twist rocked the story just when his detractors believed the coffin was sealed. Pages from a purported diary kept in a jailhouse came to light. Blueface had scrawled in unsteady handwriting, "Everyone is against me. I love you, baby mommy Chrissy. The brands want me to disappear. My children are my only hope. I can get through this if I can keep them near." Some saw it as evidence of manipulation all the way through. Others saw it as the sorrowful cries of a man clinging to the remnants of his family after being betrayed by love and abandoned by fame. The world was left with tears, anger, division, and brokenness. Was this the tale of a father whose own demons had wrecked him? Or the tale of kids being pawns in a game they didn't want to play? There was no doubt about that. The assurance that Daddy would return soon would never sound the same. There you have it, a call from a jail cell, no less. Not merely the quivering voice of a father, but a tragedy the internet has been split in two by that. Through jail bars, a promise was murmured. Every fan who has ever believed in second chances is haunted by the ghostly sounds of Daddy's coming home soon. However, this narrative is more significant than Chrisean rock, Blueface gossip blogs, and popular hashtags. This is about kids, caught in the crossfire of power, love, treachery, and the cruel hold of fame. Their cries have made headlines throughout the globe. They never asked to join the war, and now their voices, too small to defend themselves, are weapons. It's in your hands now. Do you witness a master manipulator using his own children to gain sympathy, or a devastated father pleading for forgiveness? Leave your comments below. Don't be shy. Your remark could change the course of the entire discussion. If you think children should never be exploited as props for celebrities, hit the like button. Since the leaks, diaries, and receipts were only the tip of the iceberg, hit subscribe right now. There will be more, I assure you. More phone calls, more texts, and more heartbreaking and jaw-dropping revelations. Don't keep this to yourself either. Show someone who swore that phone call was real this video. Show them the dark side, the side that no one wants to acknowledge. 'Cause this is more than just entertainment in the end. It's a real-time tragedy. And whether Blueface returns home isn't the question. What will happen to his kids after he passes away is the question. Remain locked in. The truth will soon be revealed.